Time for business. Kate joins us. South Africa's president declared a national state of disaster over the country's power shortages.
Yeah, it's a profound energy crisis, Mark, which requires urgent action. That was the message from Cyril Ramaphosa's annual address to Parliament earlier on. He said he would be appointing a minister of electricity to focus specifically on the situation. Declaring a state of disaster gives the government more leeway to respond to a crisis. A similar declaration was made at the start of the COVID pandemic, for example. Take a listen to the president speaking earlier.
We are therefore declaring a national state of disaster to respond to the electricity crisis and its effects. It will enable us to provide practical measures that we need to take to support businesses, a number of businesses, for instance, in food production, storage, retail supply chains, including for the rollout of generators and solar panels and uninterrupted power supply.
Well, businesses and households have been facing rolling, crippling power shortages, which are expected to reduce economic growth by at least 0.3% this year. 80% of South Africa's electricity is generated by coal, but the aging power plants have struggled to keep up with demand. There have also been huge delays in the construction of new coal-fired power stations, and the government's been facing international pressure to switch to less polluting forms of energy. The state energy firm Eskom, which operates the electricity network, has been imposing scheduled blackouts known as load shedding, but it's been sharply criticized for its handling of a crisis that many analysts say it should have seen coming. Well, Asia is consuming more energy than ever and will use half the world's electricity by 2025. That's the forecast from the International Energy Agency, which says that China is the biggest consumer. Its share of global electricity will rise from a quarter in 2015 to a third in the coming years. By contrast, the IEA says that Africa, home to nearly a fifth of the world's 8 billion inhabitants, will account for just 3% of global electricity consumption. All that in 2025. Aimed at revitalizing the country's economy and relieving overcrowding in the capital, Senegal is pushing ahead with construction of what it's calling the City of the Future. The Mammoth project requires a huge workforce, and it's attracted people from across West Africa who are looking for jobs. But those workers are alleging poor and even dangerous working conditions. Karis Garland explains.
Rows of modern residential buildings and a new regional headquarters for the United Nations. Construction in Diamniadio, Senegal's City of the Future, has made considerable progress, thanks in particular to migrant workers from elsewhere in West Africa. However, some of those workers are speaking out, alleging poor treatment from their employers.
If you wound, they will not take care of you. The day you will not come to work, you don't have no money.
Labourers say they work up to 13 hours a day, 7 days a week, and are paid less than €7 per day. At the centre of many of the allegations is the Chinese-owned firm WIETC.
Every day the Chinese people think like, you just started working every day, shout, hit you, abuse you.
The construction contractor has denied any abuse and says it abides by local laws, while the developer of two of the sites says he's unaware of the accusations.
It's a global problem to which we must find sustainable solutions, because it's all about poverty. When people leave their homes, it's because they have no opportunities, or it's because they're in a crisis, or they come from countries in conflict.
According to the International Labour Organization, 9 out of 10 workers are informally employed in Senegal. And while it's one of the most stable countries in the region, more than half its population is living below the poverty line.
That's the business. Kate Moody, thank you very much indeed.